Hello again to another episode of CBD Blogger. My name is Matt.
And I'm Jonathan.
And once again, this is a news report.
Exactly,
Yes.
hot off the press.
We have no product. We're not talking about product today. We're not talking about that. We're going to do another little sort of snapshot of what we found circling the internet. Bits and bobs that's going on. And just have a little chat and go from there, really.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Do you want to start with something?
Yeah. So something I just came across, actually was reported in the Daily Mail, 29th of March, Daily Mail Online, with the headline is, can you trust the label and those costly CBD remedies? We tested the actual amount of active ingredient in a variety of products and the results could leave you feeling a little shortchanged. So
this ties into the idea of the whole CBD market being unregulated, doesn't it?
Yes, in terms of what it states on the packet in sometimes a slightly confusing way, is not necessarily exactly what's gone into it. And obviously some of that's down to probably the natural and organic nature of CBD, but some of it's down to actually there not being any regulation to set those standards. So what they basically did, they looked at I think 13 different products on the market, had them independently tested to see whether the amount of CBD that was stated on the package actually was what they were getting. Now, there were a couple of standout products. One that actually had got 70% more CBD in the product than they'd actually sort of stated on the pack, which is quite a big sort of margin, and another one that had got about half the amount. So really, I mean, I guess they represent the more extremes, and actually I think the rest of the products were pretty much true to what it is. But it's
actually a bit odd from a business point of view that when you're selling a product, you are saying it's got X amount in it, but it's got more. Does the company itself even know what's in it? I mean, you know, when they do their sort of cost analysis as to what the product's costing them.
Well, particularly if a lot of the cost is in the CBD itself.
Yeah,
and you're putting a lot more of it in.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, and I guess a little bit of it is a little bit of the problem is the fact that the actual raw material, the CBD, isn't being produced in the UK.
No.
You know, so they probably haven't got that probably exact quality control and measurement from the sort of growing through
it's something
to
lost in translation, effectively.
Yeah, potentially. I guess if you're importing the raw material, you know,
but
also tested?
Also, you are trusting that whatever testing method, the male or whoever it was that did it, that their test and their parameters were
the same as the company.
Well, either the same as the company, or had some level of authority for them to state, "Oh, that's right, that's wrong." I mean,
yes, is there an identified? This is the universal test for CBD.
Yeah, can it be tested in different ways, and therefore you get a slightly different result?
I'm sure you probably can.
Yeah,
like a lot of these things, a bit like statistics, isn't it? You can make them read what you want to. Anyway, just you know, I think a really interesting point. You know, and we come at this from all different angles, but you know, the challenge has been for us, and obviously for you as well, is really trying to get a sense of, you know, what you think you're buying and getting. Is it actually what you're
Well,
getting?
it is when the FSA do actually sort of give a recommendation of 70 milligrams per day, which is another discussion as to where that 70 milligrams came from and whether or not it's even relevant, or whether taking more, taking less is, you know, a personal choice. And there's no particular medical reason why you shouldn't take more than 70. Given that they do say that, then and a lot of packaging we've noticed actually echoes that.
Everybody
as well,
seems to be
by
referencing
saying,
that
you know, keep it around 70 milligrams a day. If then with their own product is mislabeled in terms of the level of CBD that you're getting in the product, then it's nonsensical.
Yeah, nobody would know where you stand.
I mean, I'm currently, as you know, I'm using a gummy every day, which is supposed to be 68 or 69 milligrams per gummy. So if they're out and it's 140 milligrams in there,
who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm sure this is something that's going to move on and on. And like you say, with that FSA, the Food Standards Agency, starting to really come into the fray a little bit.
I'll touch on that in a minute.
Okay. Do you want me to go with one other?
Or shall I swing straight into the food?
Yeah, go on then, as we're talking about that.
Link.
As we're talking about that.
The profession're would call it a link, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Okay. So
it's streamlined.
Yeah, this is kind of like almost hot off the press. As we're filming this particular episode, the internet is filling up with news reports going across lots of local newspapers and national newspapers about how the Food Standards Agency has published a list of CBD products that are authorised for sale in the UK. Now, this is in part meant to start providing a bit of clarity as to what's going on with the CBD market. I think the way this information is out there is actually causing quite a bit of confusion, and it's very, very muddled. But fundamentally, the current state of affairs is that if you're producing a CBD product, because it didn't exist before 1997, it has to be labelled as a novel food. So on all the packets that we've got, if you go and buy a packet of gummies or your biscuits or whatever it is, it's going to say on there that this is a novelty food, not, I suppose you'd call it real food. I don't know what the...
Okay.
So from what we can see, there are loads of applications that have been put into the FSA for their products to be classed, presumably, and this is where the confusion is, as food.
Yeah, out of the novelty market and into, I guess, like you say, almost like an approved food, as it were.
Approved food, yeah. So they've had a load of applications. The list has only just been published, which I presume has happened today or in the last 24 hours or so. But a few critics have pointed out that it's a year late. Partly because they've been collating the applications, and the deadline for the applications was this year, I think, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah.
Do we say it was like March this year, which is why the list has been published? But the problem is the FSA have actually said that, and I'm just going to read off this here. It says here they've received 900 novel food applications for CBD, which is really bizarre because what we're understanding is that this isn't an application for a novel food. So we're a little bit muddled on this. It says out of that 900 though that 680 of them were rejected, 42 withdrawn by the applicant, 7 were passed through to a risk assessment phase, 175 pre-validation, and 65 were on hold waiting further information. And I believe we have a comment somewhere in here to say that the FSA were surprised at the lack of quality of a lot of the applications.
Yes, and I without sort of filling in any gaps really, but I think a little bit might be, by the nature of them, aren't they? These are often small businesses being highly innovative in this space, but probably don't have the administrative backup to probably go through the rigours of these application processes. So,
but it seems to me that although a lot of people are hailing this publication of the list as being a move towards regulation, and it might well be that, and I will quite happily say that I don't believe we should have regulation for regulation's sake. But what we are finding in our sort of journey within CBD, that there needs to be some rules, checks and balances here, because there is a lot of confusion about what it is, a lot of confusion over dosages, as you've been talking about.
Well, I think it will
labelling
help.
on boxes is not always very good.
No, I'm sure it'll help. It will help the overall market, and I think it'll help consumers like us have greater confidence in the product, and that's what will help the market develop as well.
Hope so.
So, lots going on there. Interesting stuff. A couple of other things that I've come across. One was actually from the Evening Standard. It says here, best CBD body bombs to help ease muscle aches and inflammation. And I just picked up on this really just because I think previously we've been looking at more the ingestibles, the teas, oils, gummies, that side of things. But obviously there's a lot more around as well on the topicals, on the creams and balms, and that sort of side of things. And actually, because initially I was thinking, how does that work? Are you reliant on the CBD just somehow getting absorbed and into the bloodstream or whatever, but actually I think it's far more to do with a lot of the nerve receptors and deep muscle tissue and the benefits from that.
Well,
able to...
one of my daughters has endometriosis, and she's been using a CBD balm for a while, which she uses for cramps. And whenever she's sort of getting pain, and she swears by it. I mean, she thinks that it helps.
Right.
So that's something I can relay.
Yeah. Well, actually, yes, and we have had some creams and balms sent in, so we are going to be looking at those in a little bit more detail. So that's interesting area, and certainly we're going to be exploring more on. Last thing I got, well, actually next to last thing I'd got, was actually a report from, came out of the US, which said, and this is from CNN Health, said over a third of parents believe CBD and marijuana are the same thing, which is...
and I bet that a third in the States, I bet it's a lot higher over here.
Well, who knows? It said, and this is a poll of 1,992 parents. 35% thought CBD and marijuana are more or less the same thing. And that's, I guess it's just a sort of a real reminder, I guess, of where we are on that whole journey. Because I think, although we're still very new to it, you quickly get to the point where you assume... everybody knows these things. You assume that people's knowledge and awareness of CBD is a lot greater.
Yeah.
But clearly there is this big area still where there's a lot of confusion, and there clearly needs to be a lot more education coming out.
Well, there is, because you can't get away from the fact that the product, all of it comes from this cannabis plant.
No, exactly.
And you mentioned the word cannabis to people, and they have that idea of what it is, and some explanation needs to be given to a lot of people as to how CBD differs from marijuana. And that is something the industry is up against on a sort of regular basis. But interesting, 30%.
Yeah.
Third.
35%.
In the States.
So no, it would be interesting to do
like
a poll
in the UK.
As to see, like you say, you assume that we're probably somewhat behind the US. We're definitely behind the US in terms of the market adoption.
If anyone has any knowledge of a survey that's been done in the UK that talks about sort of awareness of CBD in terms of its distinction between that and cannabis, or marijuana as they've used the word there, comment below, let us know. It'd be good to hear.
And finally, actually, a couple of things really, we were just talking about the awareness, is CBD shows.
Yeah.
So they're obviously great for hopefully, promoting, getting a positive image, and letting people know exactly what's on the market. First thing is the CBD show, going to be at Olympia in London, 22nd and 23rd of April. Actually, I noticed on their website, they've now listed 175 exhibitors.
It's gone up.
It has increased over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to be along there for for those 2 days, covering it and doing lots of reports and interviews. Should be great stuff. The other thing is the World CBD Awards. So this is something on a far bigger stage, I guess, in terms of the market, covering probably the US as well as Europe, I imagine. It's going to be held in Barcelona in July of this year.
Olympia London's one thing, but Barcelona, I like it.
I think we're yes. We'll let you know on that one how discussions go. But it's the first time they've done this since 2019. Obviously, not for the last couple of years. But, there's going to be a bit of an expo there, a bit of sort of networking. But, they are definitely on the agenda. There is not only some awards, but they're trying to understand, what is representing the best in the industry and trying to, set new standards and push towards those. So, yes, we'll be checking on flight costs to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think that's all for this video.
Absolutely fine. All good. I let him do most of the talking this time. So if you like him talking, click subscribe, hit the like button, and we will try to get much better at this.
See you in the next video.
Next time.